It's going to show me a count, and then they don't know we're live, and it's doing it now. So welcome, everybody. Welcome back. Season 4 of the Level Up Your Wealth podcast. We talk about the gaming industry from a business perspective. One of your hosts, Marcus Howard, joined by Mario and Sam. Mario, introduce yourself, and we're going to talk to Sam. Excited to catch up with him.
What's going on, y'all? Hope all is well. A beautiful and rainy day in Jacksonville, but happy to be here. I guess March showers brings April flowers, maybe. I don't know, but happy to be here. Happy to talk gaming with Sam. I am.
Hey, how you both doing? My name's Sam. I'm a founder of a company that likes to play around with creativity and introduce new multi-sensory components into digital experiences and especially games. So been playing games a long time, evolved through a lot of business, a lot of other pieces, and kind of excited to talk about the next stages of immersive experiences with both of you and anyone who has questions.
Excellent. So if you're tuning in on any of the platforms, LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, let us know where you're tuning in from. We want to give you a shout out. Before we get into the conversation, we're going to do a quick match of rock, paper, scissors. So you know the drill. If you're a returning fan, thank you for your continued support. Let us know in the comments who you think is going to win, Mario or Sam. Sam, who's never played the game before. Mario, who has a decent winning streak. So Mario, you go ahead and boot up rock, paper, scissors and share your screen. I'll get that broadcast. And the winner, we'll select one of the winners of the people who select the winner for this match will win a free digital copy of Mario's book, The Relaxed Investor. And then a free digital copy of my book, Innovate Gaming and Esports. So Mario, if you share your screen, we'll get this kicked off.
I'm feeling pretty confident against you, Mario.
Oh, the confidence. So it's loading up. It says waiting for second player. So
right, let's do it.
You want to log in?
Yeah.
Are you logged in?
Are you waiting?
I'm in.
Second player on your end too?
Yeah. There we go. All right.
So
Here we go.
Share your screen.
All right.
Everybody get your bets in. And it's first to 10 points, Sam. So rock, paper, scissors, just like you remember it, except digital. And what this game will do is keep track of all of your decisions and all of your opponent's decisions. So yours are beneath your cards, and then Mario's are above his.
All right, I see what's going on here.
You're losing. That's I think what's going on.
So Sam, is this considered immersive? Because I know immersive is more like a headset in it. So like, what type of game would this be labeled as?
I mean, everything that you get involved in and get excited like that you're doing is technically immersive.
Okay.
But this is this is base level immersive.
Okay.
You're experiencing something, you're clicking on things, you're doing a thing, but like, does it actually feel like we're playing rock, paper, scissors right in front of each other right now?
No.
Like maybe if I could be making if I could have the other screen up and be making eye contact with you so I could see what you were clicking and pressing, that'd be like the next step of immersion where I could actually be kind of keeping track of what you were doing and making guesses. And then eventually you'd have like the haptic versions, a 3D version where I'm right in front of you. And then, hopefully adding other complexity like scent, sharing a drink, having a beer together while we're doing it, but not being in the same spot.
Okay. What device do you think might be the first breakthrough device that makes rock, scissors, paper virtually, not being in front of each other, but it has that feel to it? You think that's the new Apple headset? You think it's another headset that's not created yet?
Electric shock.
I think you could do it with. I was going much better for a brief period here, and things have kind of fallen apart for me. I feel like even with the sort of the MetaQuest 3 and the Apple Vision Pro, both have the recognition skills to see what your hands are doing. So both have that first capacity to make you feel like you're there. That didn't go as well as I hoped. But I think the next thing that you need is is you need some version of haptics. So you can actually, you'd either need to recognize what your hand is doing and translate that. And then it would be even better if you could kind of feel the other person when they they put paper over the rock. That little bit of extra sensation really adds a lot of depth and complexity that we get used to in the real world.
Now, now we don't want any proprietary information, but what type of technology would do that where you're not together, but you have like a feeling of, I mean, because that would be awesome. Like 1, 2, and then like I feel that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So, like, what type of technology would be created for that?
So there's a range of technology that's starting to exist. We're one portion of those sort of immersive experiences. So I'll tell you kind of what the ecosystem looks like, but obviously most of my knowledge comes from what we focus on, which is scent or olfaction. You know, how much immersion is created by just the addition of scent to rock, paper, scissors? Just in a grand scheme, not a huge amount. But what does get created is the idea of like, all right, how do you create an entire experience where you're, you know, sitting in one of those headsets, you're in a digital environment that feels like you're sitting on a mountain. And we're having coffee in front of a campsite, and there's haptic gloves out there. There's a few that already exist from both B Haptics and Hapdex, are like early people who are in the space and have been in the VR space creating these, you know, the physical part. There's a lot of people who are testing everything from ultrasonic creations that are actually like air movement on your hands. And then for us, the next kind of logical step is like, oh, how do you add this other element to it that's adds depth, complexity, and an emotional connection? And since scent is directly linked to memory and emotion and influences kind of what we're doing, if you're sitting on a fake mountaintop and you're feeling the breeze and you can feel someone else touching your hand, you should also be able to smell the woods, the campfire, and the coffee that you're having as well. And that's really where things start to cross the line of, you know, reality into hyper reality.
Okay. Now, where did you get the thought to do immersive smell? Like that just nobody thinks about that, but like if you think it'd be cool. Like if I'm playing it, like I was telling Marcus the other week, like because I love me some Madden, right? So if I'm playing Madden, it would be great if I was able to like smell like the grass, right? Or like if it's raining, smell the mud, or if I'm playing FC24 playing a soccer game, you know, if I could smell the dew, I mean, or smell the soccer ball, right? Like stuff like that would be amazing. So what made you come up with that?
Grass, concept? Water, leather.
Yes.
All those are part of the experience. And it's interesting because like cognitively, where there's a lot of science behind scent, and I'm happy to go as deep into the nerdy side of scent as you want to go. But we'll start on just kind of the basics, which is like, because scent is the only sense directly tied to the limbic system, which is where memory and emotion live, it actually bypasses your conscious brain and goes straight to your your unconscious, which is a fascinating way to deal with something. So scent is constantly influencing you and you're not necessarily thinking or noticing it. So that's why like people don't often go, oh my, I need scent. But if you take scent away, they notice it very quickly. Like the second scent is gone, your world becomes flat and like the equivalent of just kind of uninteresting and unemotional. So it can be a difficult thing to lose. And part of kind of my journey and what brought me into this is a long series of business choices and decisions and things that ultimately my last company was a flavor and fragrance company. So what people don't know is like when you're dealing with any kind of product in the world, there's a few companies that are designing everything from the flavor of your Doritos to the smell of your soap. Like there's companies that are actually kind of thinking about and designing scent. And one of my first companies was around helping other companies who couldn't afford the larger ones be able to develop unique and interesting aromas. So learned a lot about the importance of scent, how it drives all these big decisions in our lives. And then had the opportunity to try the HTC Vive when it came out in like 2017. And loving games, loving technology, being excited about it, but then because of my background in scent, knowing, well, this is missing something. Like there's a key component in our lives that drives so many things, and it's not a part of this. As amazing as this is, wouldn't it be better if it could be even more immersive and connect to this other sense? So yeah, went through the development process, a lot of time, a lot of thought, a lot of looking at other people's mistakes before we developed what we did, and tried to really target what people would need and use to experience scent in a digital space.
Sam, do you have the prototype or the injection mold device anywhere near you by chance?
I do not, because I am at home, not in my office, and we are working on them now. But we can share kind of the website, a link, picture, all of those. I can get some of that to you in a second. But the idea of it is it's roughly the size of like an AirPods Pro case. And in it, yep, that's Marcus holding it in his hands.
Holding it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's small. Wow.
And it has 16 different scents, connects via Bluetooth to your to whatever your environment is. And instead of it just being like releasing scent on an on-off scale, it actually has positional and spatial. So it recognizes your behavior and your location in a digital space. And based on how close you are to an item or how close you are in a space or what you're doing, it releases the right scent at the right time. So really thinking about scent, not just as like, oh, wouldn't it be cool as part of this video when you saw this, it turned on, but it reacts to you and what you're doing in the space.
Wow. It's interesting you said that, because like if I have like a stuffy nose, I can't smell, I freak out. I'm like, oh, what's going on? I can't smell. But you're right. Like when you're like a regular, just your nose is clear or whatever, you just like, okay, it's just, oh, it smells like lasagna. But you know, when you can't smell, that's when it's all like messed up. So
it brings joy.
Yeah. So what's the battery life? And then is it like USB, or is it the small chip batteries?
USB-C, and it's actually the device Marcus is holding is modular, so it can plug into either an external battery, a battery pack that connects to the side of it, or it can plug directly into what you're using. One of the things that we always considered, we released another version of this product that was focused strictly on VR, and we were using it for health and wellness purposes. But when we redesigned it to be more game focused, we looked at all the possible options and use cases. And like in some cases, you have other things you're connecting to. So why would you want to use weight, space, and time if it can already connect to another power source? But having the option, so rechargeable battery, lithium ion, a few different versions that can connect to it, but it also can draw power directly from a computer, phone, kind of a VR headset, anything that has that sort of USB-C option to pull power. So gives a lot of options. So the battery life can be a very long time, but you can always switch on and off.
Oh, accidentally lost you there for a second, Mario. I was trying to do this.
I'm back.
But yeah, and you can see in sort of we have Unity and Unreal plugins, but that idea of being able to create a 3D invisible geometry that as people interact with releases scent, it's in different and unique ways. So by adding these kind of plugins, the same way you'd add, let's say, spatial audio to a game environment, our firmware on our device reads that via Bluetooth and then figures out what scent and what algorithm and at what strength to be able to release the scent.
Wow, that's cool. Now, how many whiffs or scents, per charge? And then like, is it a certain amount per hour? Like, can you dictate it? Like, how can you dictate how many times it sprays or gives a scent or whiff?
So that it's easy to calculate if everything was a video, because then it would just be like, at this point it releases this much. But since it's based on your action, like if I just hung out and wanted to smell the rose for an hour, that would obviously deplete it a little bit more quickly. But the general idea of, because when you're dealing with scent, you want to control the scent very specifically. The goal is, let's say, like, it's easy to kind of add scent into your world. Like you can take a Glade plugin, and a fan and blow scent at yourself. But how do you make the scent go away after? And how do you switch between scents, and how do you make sure that the scents are pleasant? So we release through the micro technology. It's such a small amount that the cartridges last for tens of thousands of scent bursts. So, we generally think about the idea of a cartridge lasting for about a month, and a cartridge has 16 scent slots on it, and it's a small sort of consumable piece. And the idea is, instead of like having to use tweezers to replace these tiny little cartridges, it's just a single embedded cartridge, and you just swap out the whole thing.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. How purgent is the smell? Because like Glade, of course, they said it causes cancer, so we should be using that anyways, right? Because we want to live a long time. But definitely, like how strong is the actual smell?
We go for the right amount of subtlety. So on our team, and the people we work with is everyone from an olfactory neuroscientists, master perfumers, people in the scent space, flavor space, and as you said, it's like sometimes you can walk into a room or in an area and just be hit over the head with scent, and it can be very aggressive. You don't need that much scent to actually have it be both perceived by the user, but also affecting how you're experiencing it. Like when you're walking down, I like to use the analogy of like walking down a street. And you can think about this both in the same version of a game version or the real life version, which is you're walking down a street, and the city that you're in has a smell. Like wherever you are, hopefully you're not in the bad version where it smells like garbage. Like it could smell like something that just after it rained, that smell of water on cement, that's happening. You're not necessarily noticing it, but it's influencing how you kind of perceive the world. As you're walking down the street, you could pass like a pizza parlor, and even though you're not looking for it, you get a whiff of pizza, and that affects how you're experiencing it. It's not like super powerful, but you get hungry, you're excited about it. You walk into the pizza place, you get a slice, and then at that point you smell it, you pick it up, you're actively smelling it. And each of those is a different way and a different strength that you can include for scent. And we try to keep it to the point where when you're smelling it, you notice it, you're actively smelling it, but otherwise it can be low and subtle enough that it's there and part of the process. But it's like in a game, the first time you smell something is going to be awesome. But if it was always at maximum strength, that would not be beneficial to either you or the experience. You want it to be interwoven, like if you had a loud sound effect of a bomb and it was full volume every time, eventually you'd want to turn your volume down. Like you turn your sound off. So Similar with scent, you want people to like first time go, that's cool, but then make it part of the story and make it fun.
Well, Lil John said turn down for what? So who wants to turn it down, I guess, right? I thought I'm not inventive, right? But help you with your investments. But I was thinking to myself, I was in a skilled nursing home facility, seeing a family member a few years ago, and like it has like a smell in it because it's older people, and of course they can't control the valves and things of that nature. And I was like, man, what if it's a way where like you could put some type of device like on your back or on your buttocks, and just like, so whenever you let loose, it gives a scent out, so it doesn't smell like So like, can a person use that? Can a person use your device for that?
That's not as much what we're focused on. So the idea, though,
I gotta find a way for you guys to scale, Sam.
All right, but so here's what I want to think about for the future of like how we interact with the world. Like all of us are wearing are some version of wearables, right? Like you have your everything from your Fitbit or Apple Watch to like Oura rings and all these like AirPods, all these things that we're adding to be able to control our environment. So if you think about like the future, the idea that like scent, a little like our wearable scent device is close to your nose, and you can program the scent for your own experience. So if you're walking into that place where you're like, oh, I'm not going to like the smell here, yeah, just go on your phone, turn on your app, and be like, I'm going to ramp up the smell that I like, so that's constantly being in my face. And then likewise, the version of like, we all have our own digital signal. So as you get close to me, it plays my ideal scent of what I want to like smell like, and then you're creating your own digital avatar and digital experience. I want to be clear, what I'm saying now is an awesome future. I think we're a little bit a ways from the completely interconnected version of scent and digital wearables, but I love the idea of like controlling our space through audio, through visual, and through scent, all as wearable options.
And Sam, you talk about OBR technology. Where we are now is like 16-bit scent, right?
Yeah,
like the gaming console analogy.
Yeah, people. It's
4-bit.
Yeah, we're still early stages. We're inventing the future of what like digital scent can be, and it's a thrilling place to be a part of. But it's also, it's cutting edge, and there's gonna be some steps and some learnings. But just the ability to know that it's possible and that it can be embedded in these experiences is fantastic. So.
Yeah, it was a huge jump from 16 to 64-bit. Huge jump. Huge jump.
Well, Sega was 32-bit, right? Sega
I
Genesis?
think Sega was 32-bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Sega Genesis. Oh, man. Were you in the side note, Sam, Nintendo or Sega?
I was Nintendo.
Okay.
That was my first foray into gaming. Was still like, it was Mario. Like, that was where I started. But to be honest, my parents didn't let me I couldn't own a console myself. Like until Nintendo 64 was the first one that they didn't want video games in the house. So I'd go over to my friend's house. You'd always find your cool friend who actually didn't matter if they were friends or not, but they had a Nintendo or a Sega, so they were your friends. And so you'd start out with them, and then eventually, N64 and like Star Fox 64 and GoldenEye and
classic.
Wave Racer was the first one, the jet skiing one that I was like really got to play on my own.
Yeah. Oh, man. So like Golden, I could just think like your device playing GoldenEye. You shoot somebody. You smell the fire. You smell everything. You go into a room. Oh man, that'd have been awesome. Oh, that was a game.
GoldenEye got rebooted, right, or remastered rather? That recently happened? Not recently.
Something came out that was a GoldenEye remake. I haven't had the chance to play it yet because it's hard to find the time to go back to all the cool reboots and reversions of everything that's come out. But yeah, that game, and also like you think about like the environment that you were in, and like the idea that you're like, oh yeah, you're young, you're probably like eating pizza or chicken nuggets, like getting those and those scents have their own scent memory and their own moment connected to it. And people are going to be building new memories in digital spaces. So also like the idea of those carrying over.
And I'm also thinking with the scent. So could I know it's an app tied to it. Can a person kind of create their own scent? So like women, like they like their own fragrance, have their favorite fragrance, but if they can kind of create their own scent, like that'd be pretty cool.
So as Marcus mentioned, and I said that we're not quite at the RGB of scent where you take a few components and you can make everything. But that doesn't mean that there isn't some mix and match capabilities. So like I can't recreate the basil that was grown in your garden in your hometown, but that sort of like that green sort of herbal, those scents can be created, and then you can start adding in earthy scents, and you can mix and match in a way where you can create the complexity and depth to move outside of the scope of just like, okay, cool, yeah, here's gunpowder and that's the only scent.
How long did it take to create the technology?
2 answers to that. Just because we developed and released our first products about 3 years ago. So we've been around for about 6 years, first the inception and filing the patents and all those things, but actually going through the R&D cycle and then releasing the first products. But we were really focused on the benefits of scent for outcomes. So we were strictly in the health and wellness space. And we were using it as a tool with VR, so we could control audio, visual, fully immersive experiences to help with stress, anxiety, kind of helping people relax in hospital systems and rehab and detox facilities. So kind of 3 years to build it, and then we're like, oh well, VR didn't quite grow the way that we hoped it would. I think the expectations were this major spike by now. And also we wanted to be able to expand into other markets. So we took another about year and a half in the development of the newest version of the product, which is miniaturized, more channels and capacity beyond just VR into a range of connections and wearable components.
Yeah,
Sam?
I think that the biggest thing with running a company is just not quitting, like keeping on, right? So how many variations, right? Because I'm pretty sure you had prototype 1A. So like how many variations are we at now? Or iterations are we at now?
Are we going to count like the giant plywood version that we built with a crank? And now the like the very first version, just to see what it was like, was Raspberry Pi, like literally kind of just something to squeeze scent in conjunction with a game. So like, what would it be like to have something else control scent? So that was like proof of concept. Like, would this even be cool? So I don't want to count that as a true iteration, but just to give you an idea of like where any company starts is always that MVP, that minimum viable product, where you're like, what is it going to take? Well, this wasn't the minimum viable product. What is it going to take to get to something that I can at least know if it's exciting, and I know that it's worth it, and I know that it could work. And then after that, you get to something that you can build and someone can actually use, which is a true MVP. And at that point, you can go like, all right, let's get a little bit of data. Let's have someone try it. Let's have someone break it. Let's make sure it still works the way we want. So we've been through in the current world of hardware and what people can do with 3D printing. We're like rapid prototypers. So we built hundreds to thousands of different slight variations, but to get to where we are now is probably only like 4 or 5 like true core changes and alterations.
Okay.
But as you're talking about like, business and building and kind of, pushing forward on things, like after the, looking and tying our product to VR and being like, well, maybe this isn't going to scale quite the way that we hoped using VR. We easily could have just gone all in and just kept pushing VR and kept waiting for it to be the right thing at the right time. But when you're in a business, and especially a smaller, like in that startup phase, you have the capacity to take data and take information and make changes. So when you're ready to pivot, you can't let the idea of what you've sunk in and what you've done and all of the work that went into one thing be necessarily the reason not to move into what you think will work better. So it's pivots and changes to hardware is a little bit harder than software, but it's important to be able to iterate and to be able to make changes based on what your customers are telling you and what the market is telling you. So
Sam, you mentioned a couple of scents earlier. If you don't mind, can you share kind of the full scent catalog of what's available now and kind of ideal strategies? And then as you're doing that, for those of you joining us live, let us know what kind of scents do you get excited about? Because there are some opportunities for additional scents, as I'm sure Sam will delve into. And then I want to take a quick commercial break to just briefly talk about the new X-Men animated series that's on Disney Plus. Has nothing to do with this show, but it's super awesome. Go ahead.
I like that as a commercial break. That's not actually a commercial. It's just something that we love because they did a good job on it.
Yeah.
So as from kind of a scent perspective, as I mentioned, our device has 16 slots for scents. We've developed 8 with the prototype to start because we don't want to build in a vacuum. We have feedback, we have an idea, we have concepts, we have team members, we have research, we have all these things where we could fill out the last 8, but the people building the environments we want them to have a say as well. So it's kind of part of what Marcus is alluding to, is like, what are people interested in? And not just interested from like, oh, this is a game that I like. Wouldn't it be cool if I could smell gunpowder? Like, also the concept of, yeah, if you're playing Call of Duty, that gunpowder scent is going to be awesome for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then it'll be awesome when you boot it up again the next day. But if you're in a 6-hour gaming session, like, how does that translate across that entire experience? So we've started with our initial suite of scents as kind of these base components that we've titled, but have a couple different ways that they sort of translate to how people interact with them. And we've also ensured that they're all on what we call a positive valence. So part of your scientific side, but things that are generally people think about positively. So not things that are like rotting corpses and, you know, vomit, which we've built and made before. And I can assure you, it's not as much fun to smell as you think that it would be, as we know from our scent team. So we're starting with a few scents that are kind of like, I'm going to give the names and happy to get more in depth. But you think about like green, woody, smoky, citrus, a scent we call soft, which is kind of this like human scent. We also have earthy, like fresh, and sweet. So those are kind of like the 8 base components, and each of those has depth and complexity. But I can kind of the concept of being able to use audio and visual components to provide context allows you to mix, match, and create these things that, even though those sound kind of simple and in base, can feel very complex when added to a game. And I had the opportunity actually to be with Marcus in person at GDC and give him the opportunity to try it. And the concept too, that like a scent like sweet, oh, you start with that, but that can be attached to any version of anything from like baked goods to sugary things to a candle to a perfume to an outdoor environment to a restaurant. Like, there's all these things that once you're in it, that complex smell of sweet converts into what you want it to based on the context you're providing. So want to kind of like, it always sounds when you're like, oh, here's 8 and they're just these base components, it can sound simple, but the complexity you can get is much more in depth.
So it's a variation. That's very cool. That's very cool. Now, is it compatible with all games, or how do you actually hook up the device to a game? So if I'm playing a game and something happens, does it spray then? So kind of walk us through that process when we're gaming.
So we've developed, so we're working with developers. We're starting to work with developers now. We have Unity and Unreal plugins. So this kind of, for developers to be able to go in, and it acts similarly to like, spatial scent or spatial audio, like these components that you can just kind of drag, drop, and attach to items and kind of declare what the scent is. And then the firmware recognizes what it is via a signal. So as of right now, we look towards sort of the concept of integrating it via the back end, finding the right developers to start. As we progress, there's ways and concepts to create more depth and more complexity, but we kind of want to start with like the right uses in the right way and the right partners. But as I said, we've started in the health and wellness space, kind of using it in these relaxing environments. And so this is the early transition. And people have more interest, more excitement, or thoughts on ways like, actually, we've talked to modders, we've talked to people who are like, oh, how do we add this to a pre-existing game that's existed for a long time? There's a range of different ways to add it, but the idea of working with a developer to create a story and complexity and using those Unreal and Unity plugins is the kind of exciting next step.
I have a question about the Unreal plugin, but first, we definitely want to talk about the new X-Men cartoon. While we're doing that, again, Sam is our resident scent technology and scent experience expert. So if you have any questions, let us know in the chat. We happen to answer some of those and give you a shout out for asking those questions. I grew up watching the X-Men cartoon like in the 90s, and I was really excited to see that it made it to the catalog of Disney Plus. And again, that this section is not sponsored at all by Disney, but happy to work with them if they want to give me advanced access to the rest of the episodes. Get at me, all right? But what I was really excited to see was they announced the sequel, which was X-Men 97, which literally starts like in the chronology of the TV series, like the next day or the next week or the next few months. So it picks up like right after the end of the series in 97, like it didn't miss a beat. Has anybody, if you watched this show, let me know in the comments. But Mario or Sam, have you had a chance to watch either episodes yet? We're 3 episodes in now. They release every Wednesday. So we're 3 episodes in the season.
I'll let you answer first, Mario, because I'm only 1 episode in, but I'm excited about it.
I'm missing out, man. We have Disney Plus too, man. We actually was watching Disney Plus yesterday. I think we was watching like Monster High, something girl. I got a wife and a daughter, something girly. I seen the trailer though, but I have not seen the episode. So that means I need to do some binging this weekend.
Yeah. It's a hit in the nostalgia. Like I feel anyone who watched the X-Men show when they were younger or remembered on like the theme song when it comes on has been embedded in my brain for 30 years. And the song is back.
Yeah.
He's got it.
You got it. So you got a lot to look forward to, Mario.
Yeah. When that song comes on, like that music part that hits, and they've kept some of the stylistic components but updated it. It's a good moment to come back to and feel like be a part of again.
Yeah. And they've also updated the series, like even though like visually it's still very old school, like they're a lot more creative with like the use of powers than you would expect having watched the old series. So like a mix and match. Like again, it's very interesting and unique, novel the way they implement some of the powers. I don't want to give away any spoilers.
But yeah, to take like what they had from 97 and then like use the new capabilities and technology to match the style but update it and like make it faster paced, make the animation similar but better, add cool new things to it. Right progression of nostalgia and growth.
The fight scenes seem kind of like Naruto kind of style animation when it gets to the fight sequences.
I know when I saw the trailer, I was like, this is pretty cool. Because to your point, like it was a nostalgia. It looked like it was older, but newer at the same time. It's kind of like weird to explain. So yeah. So, okay. So circling back, talking about X-Men, but from you said when you hear the theme song, like something in your ear kind of perks your mind. Like from a smell standpoint, like what are some of the stimulants in your brain that just perked up when you smell a certain scent?
Like me specifically, or people, or which?
People. We're ordinary people.
Just the ordinary people. It varies a lot. As I said, like the limbic system is where emotion and memory live. So depending what you're smelling and what your history is, people have slightly different kind of connections and associations, but really it tends to light up the emotional parts of things. So you smell something that generally makes you feel happy. Like that's one of the things I feel like citrus is a scent that tends to associate people with like energy and happiness. Like you hear like florals in those scents tend to be in that relaxing, calming state. So like what's lighting up in your brain is a little bit dependent on what you're experiencing and what your past experiences were. But generally when you smell something, you're going to feel something and it's going to light up some memory that's going to connect with that. So kind of depends where your memories are stored. It's not like a specific moment or time. It's really just, it heightens the emotional experience.
I'm just thinking like anytime I go somewhere where it's like either a sales environment or like somebody wants you to be calm but kind of make a decision, it's always like a common, like a vanilla or like an oatmeal kind of smell. Is that like the reason why? Because like the different fragrances make you think or react differently?
I'll get hopefully just the right amount of nerdy on this.
Okay, nerd out, Sam.
But yeah, always feel it'd be like, all right, we can move on to something else. But scent is super interesting because you're not born really with any association. So people are always like, is lavender calming? Like the physical lavender itself isn't by any, like nothing about it technically is calming. It's not like a specifically calming scent, but because lavender is always used to make people feel calm and it's always associated with and added to like meditation and music, that scent gets associated with being calm. And so like there are certain things that once you build an association for, that association exists forever. And so kind of the idea of being able to introduce scent is interesting because of there are a lot of associations that are kind of cultural in how they exist. But thinking about like digital scent and its capacity to create new associations is one of the things that I find so fascinating, is the idea that you can actually create new memories and new associations to new scents that you've never had before. So if you were to, let's say on this call, you had our device on and you experienced a scent that you didn't have an association with. Every time you smell that scent in the future, you're going to think of Marcus and me and this moment because it brings you back there. So scent itself doesn't have this like overarching single power, but because of all the cultural pieces, they get associated with things in our brain that tend to cross across a lot of different areas. So you can kind of plan on some of the data and some of the statistics where you're like, citrus generally exciting, lavender generally calming, sweet generally makes you either hungry or calm, or in your case more likely to buy things.
Sam, for the question about Unreal Engine, Fortnite is obviously, Unreal Engine is built by Epic Games, who also makes Fortnite, and Fortnite also has UEFN, Unreal Engine Fortnite Creative, something, maybe the C is silent in that acronym. Does the plugin for Unreal Engine also allow it to be used in Fortnite Creative?
You're asking a question that I feel like I should have an immediate answer to, but I do not.
Okay.
We haven't, or be clear on kind of where I sit in the company, which is less on the ability to fully build the entire software stack. We have some software developers and Unreal developers. We have not, I don't think we've tested the Fortnite Creative, but we have been looking into some of the options around that. So I don't have an answer, but I can definitely get an answer on how that would work, and post it after this. But if it doesn't now, as kind of we're finding out who the developers we're working are, who the creators and who are content creators who are looking to create their own. If there's people who are excited, building the software is much easier than building the hardware in a lot of ways, or not easier, less time consuming. So that's something that if people are excited to do, then we're excited to listen to the people who want to do it and make sure that becomes available.
Cool, because user-generated content in UEFN is really kind of redefining what a game developer is, or who makes games. And now you have individuals making their entire islands, all the way up to like brands activating in the space, where they don't have now we don't have like physical discs anymore, but like digital distributions of discs. You don't see most brands in that space, in the traditional gaming space, where you do see them in Roblox and UEFN.
Yeah, I think that, well, right now, like Epic Games and some of the investment that they've gotten from larger companies and kind of like what they're building in the ecosystem that we're building has a lot of those aspects of like the future kind of platform that gets us to like Ready Player One status. We're believers in what they're doing and think that the sort of the integrations and those capacities are important, and also that as amazing as games are, yeah, the user generated content and the ability for people to create both through Fortnite and also now like ChatGPT 4, where you can create your own GPTs. Like people are creating things so rapidly that that's exciting to be able to have people do, to like just be able to jump in and create an entire universe. So we support and also believe Scent should be involved. How quickly we do that is either already or something that we'll be doing soon, depending on what my developers tell me after I get off this call.
Now, from a focus group standpoint, typically if you want to find use case or see how people like the product or don't like the product, you have a focus group to kind of see, feel, touch. But how are you guys getting feedback from focus group wise when it's sent? Because I might smell something and I might smell something differently than another person. So how are you guys getting the data, collecting the data to really kind of in tune, what people smell and what are some of the smells that people like?
There's some complexity to that. It is part of the hard part of doing Scent, and some of the conversations we have, people are very excited about it, but obviously the ability to experience, like you can see a game, you can see how it works, you can watch that on YouTube, you can't really experience what the Scent part is like. So getting it in hands, getting in front of people, actually going to conferences like GDC, which we were just at, and getting in front of a large group, and then also going to other places where we've connected with a large group and getting direct feedback, bringing people into locations and actually doing tests, collecting data kind of on that user interview. But right now, as we're kind of pushing things forward, we use a combination of direct feedback from people who have actually used the device. So a smaller cohort, then we could just send a survey out to 100,000 people. But thankfully, there is groups and people that we've connected with who have been doing years and years of Scent research. So there's data out there around Scent. There isn't data around Scent and gaming the same way, because that hasn't existed till nowish. But there's people who have been studying Scent for a long time, and everything from companies like Procter and Gamble, who are doing very serious details and deep dives on how Scent works and why it influences people, to one of our partners, which is the Monell Center for Chemosensory Research, and they're based in Philadelphia, and they just work to kind of understand how people perceive flavor, scent, and just general stimulus. And they're partners of ours, and we like to work with them, get access to data, and do research that isn't sponsored by us. So therefore, hopefully, a little bit more accurate and trustworthy than the stuff that we would do on our own as not necessarily research scientists.
Now, like first to market could be like a gift and a curse. Like, for Tesla, first to market is great. Like, even though people copycat them, Lucid, Neo, they're going down from a stock standpoint. Tesla's going down, but it's still around. Then you have like Coke, right? Pepsi, but you still think about Coke. So like, what are some things that makes you guys different from some of the kind of copycats that are out there?
What helps a little bit, and this is always on the business side, is like patents and IP are important. And we didn't form the company until we found a gap in the patent space and filed the patent. We always knew.
So you guys went through the patent pending and patent process before you actually went through the process of building the product and doing the use case and things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, we had done some like early tests, and we had an idea of what it was, but we're like, if we are either infringing on someone else's patent or we can't protect this, like we don't want to spend all our time and effort paving the way for someone else to come in and rip us off. So whenever you're thinking about like a business of a space that you can't control rapidly, like that, like you can have a software play where you can just, if you get it out and you hit the numbers, then you're just the first to market, and like you have the user base, so it's hard to supplant you. But if you're In hardware, it's important with the amount of time, research, and money that goes into building a hardware product to make sure that you have some capacity to make sure that you don't build a market that someone else comes in and steals. So we focused a lot early on patents. We have 6 different patent families, and we have like 6 or 7 granted patents. We have international protections. Like we spent time building our IP portfolio to try to keep some of the to give us a little bit of a competitive advantage. And then the other part is just focusing on not just one part of the technology. We like to think we call it like a platform, but it's not just the hardware. We also built software and scentware. So thinking about a product holistically instead of just a kind of like, oh, here's a cash grab with a quick hardware. Like we've thought about how scent works, how people should use it, how it should exist in a digital ecosystem, and built a lot of embedded pieces that are very hard to figure out and very hard to copy. So there's been competitors, like scent has existed in digital since Smell-O-Vision, but there's reasons that it hasn't been successful. And we listened to a lot of failures as we were developing what we're doing to create something that has the capacity and the protections to grow in the space. We'll definitely face competitors, but our hope is we've done it right. And at some point, our both IP and product will help pave the way, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Can you define scentware? You talked about hardware.
Yeah.
Define scentware for everyone, if you don't mind.
Yep, scentware is again adding to the IP. We got our trademark on that, but scent is the actual physical component of how scent is read by the device. So scent is actually a physical particle system, but the cartridge and how it interacts and how it is emitted from the hardware. So the scent itself has its own importance. So it'd be the equivalent of light from your TV. So like what actually gets emitted, the hardware creates it, but it emits light. We emit scentware.
Not swimwear, scentware.
Scentware.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if I mispronounce that in any way, very important that we did not develop any swimwear for this product.
So I want to circle back because when people do businesses, they do either or, right? From a scaling standpoint, either just software, do it one time and scale, or the hardware, do mass manufacturing, cut your costs and just scale that way. So how difficult has it been to kind of have a combination of both, where you're doing manufacturing from a hardware standpoint, then also you're creating a software attached to it? Like, how difficult has that been for you guys?
It's not easy. I mean, you hear a lot, and like if you're talking about business and investment, like a lot of people are more hesitant to invest in hardware. Doesn't scale as quickly, costs a little bit more, but the joy of hardware is that it takes a long time to copy. Like software releases, someone else can build that and try and compete quickly. It's going to take a while, even for large movers with a lot of money, to be able to recreate what we did. So definitely difficult and time consuming and costly to build the hardware. But I think the software component is what allows you to stay competitive. So yes, it adds complexity. It creates, need for more people, larger departments, all those bits and pieces. But because software can change rapidly, and you want to make sure that you're covering something that can continuously change and provide additional value to customers, so you're not stuck on, even the iPhone is on a 1-year release cycle. Like software can come out though instantaneously, so you can be adding new features, adding new complexity, adding new things in a way that makes you relevant for longer and can continue to add tech debt for your competitors.
Yeah, I think Apple is probably like the best version of the best company to look at that integrates hardware and software, right? And now, of course, they were doing cheap labor in China. Now it's in India, right? but like like how they've been able to cultivate the hardware part, iPhone, I'm a Mac person myself, but like not the best in the world. When iPhone comes out, but your point, it's tricky able to advantage.
Yeah.
Sam, can you talk a little bit about the developer program? We went to GDC last week, met with a ton of awesome game developers, game companies, publishers across the board. Yeah. And we're looking for are those innovators, those change makers, right? Those taste makers who can be kind of early in on the journey. Can you talk about like what your vision is for the developer program?
Yeah, Scent is unique in the digital space right now. It's an entirely new creative tool set for developers to be able to think about and embed, not just from a 1-to-1 ratio of I see something and I smell it, but something that can actually add mood and complexity and points of energy and calmness. And so really think about it as like an exciting creative tool that can be used to both add immersion, add complexity, and add value to an environment is something that feels like it has a lot of interesting places in the game space. So, we can, like as a hardware, we could release a range of different things, but we want creators to be able to kind of decide how it's going to be used and have the right idea and release something interesting and exciting instead of just us just dropping something out into the world. So we're looking to build a cohort of developers who are excited to kind of experiment and release something that would include Scent, either kind of built from scratch or something that is already existing. And, we want to be kind of targeted and focused in who those people are and support them through that process, because sound engineering's been around for a while, but Scent engineering is a new thing. So we're looking to, in that kind of 5 to 10 developers that we would give development kits to, work with our software team, help either embed or in some cases actually, for those willing or wanting to have us go in and actually, program sections of it to build Scent and Scent stories, but really be kind of supportive and a part of those first experiences for developers. So as great as it is to just release a product and have it out there, we'd love for the first people to be truly excited about it, interested in what its capacity is, and we want to be able to spend the time and effort to support that and make sure that they have a good experience and can build something that excites them. So developer program is finding the right developers and supporting them all the way through the process to release, so that the first Scent enabled content comes out and is fun to use.
When you talk about that, just as a follow-up, you mentioned to me this compelling concept of like Scent as music or as sound rather. Can you share a little more about that so that the developers who are listening, if they're interested, can understand how to conceptualize how it might add value to the experience they're building?
Yeah, I like the analogy of using sound just because people are very familiar with it. And so you can kind of think about Scent from the idea of these two different things where sound exists in games. There's sound effect and there's soundtrack. Sound effect is used to build realism. Like sound effect, you see something or there's something's happening and it brings you into the environment because it's a true representation of what's happening around you. So sound effect is that 1-to-1 ratio. Soundtrack, on the other hand, is in the background and it's there to create mood and emotion and complexity. So thinking about Scent only from the idea of the concept of Scent effect or sound effect means that you're just trying to recreate the world, and that's fun and exciting. But thinking about it also from like, how am I going to tell a story to sort of integrate and think about things on a long-term basis, and think about how this can build energy or calm or excitement or fear. Like, how can you use it as a storytelling tool to build emotional connection? I think is an important way to think beyond just the creative narrative of like, okay, I shot a gun, therefore I smell gunpowder. Like, it can also build mood and build excitement. And I'll give just one example that I had mentioned once in the past that I feel like resonated, which is if you were to always include a scent that happened before a boss battle, as people played through the game, that scent would start to let them know that something was coming. So you can build anticipation. If the first time there's a boss battle, you drop a scent right before, then that happens again. Now you built an association. So the third time they smell that scent and you're starting to build that excitement towards whatever that next thing is. So that kind of complex way to think about scent can add excitement, but I'm sure there's a lot of ways people will come up to use it that I haven't even thought of yet.
That's awesome. I know we're running up on time. My last question, and first off, man, this is amazing. It say, businesses that grow and scale and help is ones that are innovative, first to market, and also solving the problem. I think you guys are doing all three, so that's awesome. But we are in the AI boom, not a bubble, because I don't think it's going to burst. So we are AI boom. So you don't got to give us like the secret sauce, but are you guys using AI in the business now? And if so, in what capacity?
I mean, we're a startup, so yeah, we're a small enough team that AI can add speed, efficiency, and a wide range of things to make us move more quickly and do a lot of pieces that are just business helpful. So you can't be efficient to the way that investors are looking for anymore unless you're using and leveraging AI. So barring that one part, which I feel like a lot of companies are using, we also think about AI from kind of the concept of how do you take some of the data and some of the information around how people are using scent to help start the process of like, okay, what are the next scents? What are people looking for? What are they using more? And how are we kind of thinking about scent and integrating it? We have a range of other ideas about how we might use AI as tools for recognition, tools for releasing scent, and tools for creating new scent experiences. But we're still early stages on those, and yeah, you never know exactly how well AI is going to work yet. So I don't want to push too hard on those.
That's true. That's true.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Sam. Before we leave, if you don't mind letting everyone know how they can follow you, the company, and support, the future of scentware and scent tech.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the company is OVR Technology, and so OVRtechnology.com. You can go there. We have a sign up for people who are interested in everything from either newsletter or who are looking for potentially to be part of that cohort of early access users to our device. And of course, we're on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and all those things. So you can find OVR Technology at all those places. But overall, we're just interested in kind of hearing how people might use scent in the space. So would love to hear from people, interact, have people reach out via email or the website, and start to hear what the uses and what excites people about scent so that we can continue to build that into our products.
Excellent, excellent. And if none of you have seen, I've joined the OVR technology team. So if you have any questions and you can't reach Sam, you can always reach out to me, and I'll get all the information over to Sam and to the rest of the team. But again, as he mentioned, we just launched this program. We're eager to meet with the innovators, the change makers, the taste makers, the disruptors who want to be a part of that early access into the program and help us build the future of the next frontier of immersive experiences. Mario, where can everybody find you and support you?
Yeah. Just Google Mario Pain or Painful Profits, PAYNEFUL Profits, because profits can be painful. But if we make money, we're happy, and we do great adventures like Sam and OVR, we help the world.
Excellent, excellent. And I'm still here on LinkedIn, right? You can find me, Marcus Esports Howard, on LinkedIn and on Facebook. We'll be back next week with the next episode 2 of season 4. Thank you all for supporting us for 3 full seasons and into the 4th. We're excited to continue to share insights across the gaming industry and financial literacy advice for all of you. We'll see you again next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Y'all have a great night. Peace.